Welcome to another enriching episode of Interactive Knowledge Exchange series brought to you from the tranquil halls of Dwarkadishholistic Center in collaboration with the Center for Indian Knowledge Systems at NIT Kaliga. Today, we delve into the profound depth of self-sovereignty and exploration of the ultimate freedom and mastery over oneself in the hustle of our daily lives and the complexity of the world. We navigate the journey towards the self-sovereignty in both a destination and a pathway to rediscover the essence of who we are beyond the societal constraint. We are honored to have Dr. Vipin Gupta with us once more, whose insight in the previous episode on the distinction between the guru and the teacher has the process of reaching the nirvana left us all illuminated and inspired. As a steer through today's session, Dr. Gupta will unravel how the self-sovereignty is not just a concept but the transformative practice that empowers us with the independence of the spirit and the material guiding us in the unchained our inner potential and the embracing the divinity within. With our mind open and the spirit attuned, let's embark on this journey towards the personal liberation and autonomy. Here at a crossroad of an ancient wisdom and the modern understanding. Join us as we illuminate the path of self-sovereignty right here on the Interactive Knowledge Exchange. Dr. Vipin Gupta, welcome to this series. So I'm asking you the first question is, could you begin by defining a self-sovereignty in the context of both traditional Indian knowledge systems and contemporary understanding?
Thank you, Dhwani ji. So when we look at self-sovereignty, it's about self-governance of our own sovereignty and freedom. And in Hindi, self-sovereignty can be defined as either Swarajya or Swaprabhuta. Swarajya is a term which was used by Mahatma Gandhi. We can identify 6 dimensions in the work of Mahatma Gandhi. First is social dimension, second human dimension, third ecological dimension, fourth is economic dimension, fifth is national dimension, and finally the psychological dimension. Let's look at these 6 dimensions. When we start with social dimension, it is about the right to govern without the marginalizing influence of social class. Social class means jati. Now, social class or jati parapsychically predominates as a consumer, psychically dominates as a masculine producing for the consumer, and spiritually decides as an investor investing in the producer by granting him the agency to govern on the behalf of a community that is backing the primacy of its claim on the endowments of a nation on the ground of its superior morality. At that time, the investor was the British, who were investing in the manpower in India, forcing them to produce. They were making Indian producers the managing agents. The role of the managing agent was that you have the freedom to govern on the behalf of the community to fulfill the consumption needs of Britain. Parapsychically, British as a social class, defining itself as an elite class, forcing here to produce things because they had heard the tales and they have seen the quality of Indian production. And that's what attracted them. That India has all these skills and is able to produce beautiful products at a very low cost of a variety of type, and they never saw in their life within Europe. And that's why they got attracted to India. So British were the consumers whose interest was to make Indian manpower the producers by forcing Indian capital owners the investors, using a divide and rule policy, whereby labor was left with no capital and capitalists were granted right to access labor only if they served as managing agents. Women were precluded from the economy by creating conditions that were unsafe for them. Therefore, Gandhiji's focus was on self-governance by women for liberation of their minds from the social norms, knowing that the liberation of the minds of the men will follow in future generations. So that was the social dimension. That how do you empower women? Because the whole attention of British is on men. By empowering women, you can liberate the minds of men from this desire to serve the British interest. The second was the human dimension. It was about cultivating the right moral values with disciplined consumption, self-reliant production, and self-respect preserving investment. So if we moderate our needs, then we can be self-reliant even with virtually zero resources, just by investing our labor for growing plants in our backyard and living a fulfilling life of dignity. So nobody has the power to colonize our mind if we use our intellect prudently. Only if our needs transcend and we want more things, then a foreigner can come and colonize our mind and say that I'm going to give you this money or this wealth. Now you become my agent and you help me rule everybody else. That would happen only when we have a lot of needs that we want to fulfill, and therefore we are willing to hear a colonial master who is polluting our mind. Third, the ecological dimension. It is about interconnecting the self as the spirit of all inanimate entities and the universe as the soul of all animate entities for realizing a right balance in life. Inanimate entities stretch our mind's imagination by making us aware of the potential beyond the present. Present is that we are animate, we are living entity. Inanimate entities stretch our mind's imagination that there could be more forms than what is present as life. They inspire us to be creative and consume the products of our creation. Animate entities create an illusion of constraint on our intellect by leading us to service the products we create by investing the self for the well-being of the universe beyond the self. When we are creating the products and we want those products to be used for the well-being of the universe beyond the self, it seems like we are constrained in our ability to serve everybody because there is so much we can do and there are only so many people that we can serve. By consuming our products, others become dependent on us and seek to mitigate the cost of their dependency by colonizing our entire family, which constitutes a nation. India was trying to market its products all over the world. That meant that other people needed to have the money to buy Indian products. If they didn't have money to buy Indian products, what would happen? By hook and crook, they will come and try to colonize India so that they can get those products free of cost. We were the creators of our colonization. Instead of working to materialize our potential for others to manipulate, Gandhiji advocated for assuming responsibility of a steward, conscious of the needs of future generation, and therefore moderating the exploitation of materials for servicing global market. We have no need to service everybody and to demonstrate our capability to everyone. It was because our desire to demonstrate that we can do all these things, that's what attracted everyone to colonize us. The fourth, economic dimension, it is about connecting as a collective for the growth of the individuals. Gandhiji advocated for the collective form of organizations such as cooperatives and decentralized village enterprises where the individuals are a class apart, not dependent on the rules of distribution by the collective, which are based on political norms in the garb of democracy or economic class shaped rule of market. Because when there is a collective, there is going to be somebody who is more powerful because of economic wealth or political power. That person will manipulate the rules of distribution and the individual will become dependent on the collective. And then on that person who is using collective as a wheel to exercise his or her own power. The role of the collective is to take care of the individual welfare by teaching each member the basic skills to make own bread. So Gandhiji talked about bread labor. So the role of collective is not to work on the behalf of individual, it's to help individual learn things, the basic skills. So when individuals have basic skills to make their own bread, the advanced skills of buttering can be left to the non-members. Because butter is not essential for one's well-being if one knows the value of the bread labor and does not undersell that, therefore is able to exchange butter of the bread. It's important for the growth of individual, also benefits the collective. Fifth is the national dimension. It's about reconnecting with the extending members of the family who belong to different collectives at the local level. So, people who belong to different villages, who belong to different states, form a federation at the national level for strengthening integration at the national level. So Gandhiji advocated for civil disobedience of national rules, policies and laws that were detrimental to the organizations working at the local level. Because the organizations working at the local level were working for the well-being of the individuals who were being harmed by the imperial domination of the national systems, who were trying to colonize everyone. And Gandhiji also advocated for non-violent resistance of local customs, practices and beliefs that were contributing to their manipulative abuse at the global level. Finally, from a psychological dimension, it's about disconnecting from the aliens who are manipulating the whole nation by distorting the values, beliefs and behaviors and discrediting the religion, seeking credit for proselytizing the entire planet to their belief system by engaging in mass destruction so that everyone can get freedom from the hell that they have created and get an afterlife in the heaven. The goal of alien India was to discredit India's religion by distorting India's values, beliefs and behaviors, because everybody was praising that India is producing so many good products, India has so much knowledge. Their belief system is being challenged, because if their belief system is not producing the same values and same products, then how can they justify their sense of superiority? The only way they can justify their sense of superiority is to show that Indian religion is inferior and to discredit whatever India is doing. And for that kind they need to first manipulate and mutilate and pollute everything that India is doing. They have to create a hell. Disconnection from the aliens is the key to overcoming inner conflicts for true freedom in expressing compassion and self-sacrifice without fear of manipulation by those with competing values. Because if you are compassionate towards those who are out to manipulate you, you are going to become a victim. आपने तो कह दिया कि सारा है ना विश्व है ना मेरी फैमिली है, बट वो तो आपको फैमिली नहीं कंसिडर करते, वो आपको जमीन पे लाना चाहते हैं, दे वांट यू टू बी इन द डस्ट. तो आप कंपैशनेट हो तो आप डस्ट में मिल जाओ, बिकॉज यू वांट टू फुलफिल देयर डिजायर, यू हैव कंपैशन फॉर देम, बिकॉज अदरवाइज दे आर सफरिंग. So you alleviate the suffering by putting yourself in dust. So that's what we have done. Gandhi presented self-sovereignty as a transformative element. Why? Because it transforms the condition of colonialism, subjugation and powerlessness for establishing a semblance of freedom at the collective level before developing a deeper understanding of what that freedom means at the individual level. Unless we have a semblance of freedom at the collective level, the individuals can't devote time in understanding what freedom means to them. Traditional Indian knowledge, self-sovereignty has a formative potential. It forms the criteria for investing, trading, servicing and exchange of our energies that ensures one's growth without entropy in everyone's capability for living an independent life. We have to invest, trade and service and exchange in a moderate way, in a way that does not compromise everybody else's capability for doing things on their own. अगर हम कहते हैं कि हम कंपैशनेट होकर हम दूसरों की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेंगे, then what we are doing, we are compromising everybody's capability. So now if they are not capable of solving their problems, because we are always there to solve their problems, because we are compassionate, we consider them to be part of our family, then what happens? Because they don't have the capability, they will come and subjugate us. We are the creators of the problem that we created. Transformative present is the first step in the journey towards self-sovereignty or formative potential.
Yeah. So what I have understood, Dr. Gupta, from what you have said is, self-sovereignty is when we don't realize our strength, and the strength itself can become a weakness to us when we don't realize it and somebody can exploit it, right?
Yes, we stretch our strength because we play on our strength so that we consider others as weak. And we want to demonstrate our strength to others. Then we make others weak, and when the other people are weak, they will try any mode to control us.
To control. But here I would like to direct, one of the things which our Indian knowledge system had it, how to hold the superiority complex and the inferiority complex. What are the things which is required so that we hold our own dignity and don't give up our self-respect in the hand of others?
There was a recognition in the past. Over time, people distort that. They don't recognize the need to give space to others for developing their own potential.
Yes, knowing where the colonial people and the Mughal people has destroyed all our universities, where their education system, they have shown that our system is much better than your systems, and they have destroyed the whole our education system because they knew that if these people will have this kind of education within themselves, where they can not only live for the basic requirement, but they can understand what is the potentiality within them.
Even British did that. The seed of that, the cause of that, we were demonstrating our strength to everyone else. We were demonstrating our education system to everyone else. So that means that we are telling everyone else that your education system is inferior. So instead of helping them develop their system, we are demonstrating our strength to them, and therefore, and they come back because they have emotional attachment to their system. They think that their system is the superior one.
Yes.
So the only way they know to counter the fact of our strength is to make us weak, to destroy the source of our strength. So it's very important that we educate everyone so that they can develop their potential to know the reality. Instead of presenting the reality to them, to solving the problems for them. So we are not here to solve everybody's problems, but we are here to educate and illuminate path so that everyone can become sashakt. They become capable of solving the problems on their own.
Yes.
Once we realize that our role is to be a guide, our role is not to be a problem solver for others.
Of ourselves.
So once we stop solving problem for others, we stop creating problem for ourselves.
And we, they have used the word, compassion in a manipulating way, by which we are compassionate by showing some kind of an pity things to us, and we has driven by that, and we have stopped our own thinking that what we have forgotten that, right?
There are many cases where the leaders kept on giving life to the enemy, and they kept on defeating the invaders which are coming from the different countries. They kept on defeating them for 16 times, 17 times, and eventually one fine day after 16 wars, 17th war, the other person wins and they kill you. So we are compassionate.
Yeah, yes.
And they destroy all our family.
Yeah.
So why do we need that compassion, which is self-destructive?
I will put it not as a compassion, but I will put it that emotionally blackmailing it was like that.
Emotional blackmail came because
we allowed them.
Yes, we allowed them. Shri Krishna may show that all this nonsense is destroyed. A dominant proportion of world's population, the male population, died in Mahabharata war.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was not here to have compassion on the people whose mindsets were all polluted. He was here to end that mindset and to give opportunity to children to live a fresh life.
Yes. Now, with this, I have another question. In your view, how does the initiate the journey towards the self-sovereignty amidst the distractions and the responsibility of the modern life? Okay. We have experienced many point of time these in your first question you have answered, but now becoming and realize that these are the mistake and we don't have to repeat that mistake. How we can start the journey towards the self-sovereignty?
Self-sovereignty of formative potential implies that one assumes responsibility for performing the role one has taken in life without becoming emotionally dependent on the beneficiaries of the role, or behaving egoistically as a beneficiary of everyone's complementary roles. Suppose I'm a father, I'm assuming responsibility for performing the role of a father. I may become emotionally dependent on my children. If father does not fulfill the role of the father, the children will become a liability and drain the mind's attention. But if you are emotionally dependent as a father on children, then the children will hurt the father emotionally because they wish their independence for emotional entanglement. No child wants that they have the emotional drama from the father.
Yes.
So if the father is egoistically independent, knowing that children are dependent on his wealth, okay, the father may say that I am independent and show an ego that now I have this money, I have this wealth. If you want my wealth, you have to be dependent on me. Then the father will devote his time on managing family politics. By not assuming responsibility of life, one becomes distracted by the modern forms of conflict these responsibilities produce.
Yes.
All you need to do is to be a father who helps children become capable.
Mm.
And you did not do that.
Mm.
Instead of that, you were trying to solve children's problems.
Yeah, and this has reminded me a beautiful story from the Buddha's, life. Is Kasami was a woman, and at that point of time, Buddha was visiting his village, and she has lost her 6 years old child, and just before 6 months, her husband also was died. Okay, so she was crying and weeping. So the villager told that Buddha is here and he can give a life to this child. Okay, so she was very happy. She went to Buddha with the holding the the dead body of her child, and she was crying at Buddha's feet that okay, can you alive them, because now nobody else is there to. Buddha has told, and that is what the real compassion is. You don't get involved into the emotional things. You make them emotionally strong. So he told, I can do that, but you do one thing, that bring the mustard seed from that house. Nobody has died. So she started, going to the one house to another house. And by the afternoon, she started, realizing that everybody has the mustard seed, but nobody, not a single family is there where nobody has died. By the evening when she came back, she has not asked the life for the child. And that is how the real compassion is, that compassion is not the interdependency of the each other is there, where the freedom of living with each other is there, and we are living with each other without getting involving into each other's emotional traumatic things. Yeah, we have to support them to make sure that they can stand on their own.
Absolutely, Dhwaniji, that's a beautiful story. Buddha is empowering the women to make her own decisions and to have the clarity about the reality of the life. True compassion is to help others become capable for living life on their own terms.
Yeah, and that is what even has happened during the Mahabharata, when Arjuna or the Pandava was under the instruction of the Krishna. They were fighting the war, and Krishna was very clear about it. What he did to kill the Bhishma, okay, it was very easy to kill the Bhishma by without taking his permission. But when he wanted to see that now the Krishna's time has come to leave this his body, so what he has done, he has sent Yudhishthira and the Arjuna to the Bhishma and told that you take your home. I don't want to have these things because it is coming in our way. Bhishma said, bring any woman in front of me and I will be destroyed. Right. Now means he has given the permission. That is what the compassion is that. And that is what the real non-violence is that.
Absolutely.
Any body is going to be a perishable, but how we behave with that person, even if we have to kill that makes a lot of difference is that.
Absolutely. When he had Duryodhan, he didn't go and ask that. So you have to understand the person that you are relating with, and accordingly you have to treat that person and have a strategy.
And that's what has happened with Duryodhana when he was going naked to Gandhari. He has told, now you are a man and you cannot go naked. And he has created a certain area by which he can be killed.
Right.
Okay. So that is what it is about. That he has told Duryodhana, not directly but indirectly, whispered that. Okay, now you have to die. Right. No matter what, you can take any kind of a precaution. That is none of our business. But you are going to die. And he covered it up because he was impressed with the Krishna ke he is so guided ke yaar mother ke samne nahi ja sakta.
Right.
So everywhere Krishna has played his role very strategically, by which the other person gets the hint that what he is doing it. If that person doesn't realize it, that is not responsibility of the Krishna about that.
Absolutely.
Strategically creating the situations by which the person himself will start, coming to see that his hand is, in his hand. It is nothing to do with us. And that is what the real non-violence is. That.
Absolutely.
So self-sovereignty is, the distractions and the responsibility in the modern life is very complicated things, because so many things that we are missing, and we are taking mostly the things which is, an ideology for us. So it is a very, very difficult. So can you, elaborate something on the interplay between the self-sovereignty and the mass interdependence, and how does one balance the spiritual autonomy with the material needs?
Self-sovereignty has a potential to create your spiritual autonomy for enjoying everyone's material dependence on you. When you have the freedom to govern your responsibilities, your mind personifies the spirit of autonomy, seeking to be omnipotent, Sarva Shaktiman, by globalizing your consciousness of responsibilities and distributing that among several unique entities by including them within the sphere of your influence. So you want everybody to become your follower and to take a part of your responsibility. You associate your autonomy, your freedom, with everybody doing things for you, so that you can be left with no action. Okay, so everybody is doing action for you that you need to do. So one has a creative freedom to tell others to contribute their factor inputs and be compensated with a sheer product produced through innovative combination of those factor inputs. The leader, I can tell all my followers, contribute your labor, contribute your capital, contribute your knowledge, and once all that is contributed and you manage it, and once you manage all that, whatever production comes, each one of you take your share and I will take the rest. King is doing nothing but just creatively using his freedom to tell everyone that they should be contributing to the nation and take a share from whatever they produce, so that the rest is left to the king. So by believing in someone who breeds a convincing vision by feeding mind the spirit of limitless imagination, everyone makes material dependence a mission of their life. Okay, so everybody becomes materially dependent on somebody who is spiritually autonomous.
Yes.
As everyone materializes someone else's vision, someone fulfills the material needs but sacrifices spiritual autonomy. Because when the king becomes dependent on the material that Praja is providing, then the king is no longer autonomous. The king is now dependent for his well-being on the Praja. The followers now determine the well-being of the leader. If the followers don't follow the leader, then the leader will be upset. So once someone has committed to a specific vision with a specific spirit, coordinated with the space that engages everyone, the only way to generalize the spirit is to give up the existing value of self-sovereignty, integrated within that specific vision. The self-sovereignty is the existing value that we have created with the freedom. That existing value is integrated within a specific vision that allowed us to engage everyone by being the light that guides everyone.
I always tell to the people that the small children are adult into the small bodies, that they are mature enough. You give them the responsibility and see the face which is really brighten up, and the joy that is coming on their face. They might be making a mistake, we are making a mistake, they will be making a mistake. What's big deal about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What common misconceptions do the people often hold about the self-sovereignty, and how can they address it? And here I would like you to address also one more thing is some point of time self-sovereignty and self-sovereignty and these things, ego. Okay, people are not able to distinguish between that, and the ego becomes very prominent on that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you can explain and elaborate on that, the listener will have a lot of clarity about their own ego. Forget about other people's ego, their own ego. If they transcend that ego, then the self-sovereignty can be, revealed on its own.
Sure. So first of all, if you look at the ego, the source of ego is the discordant force. The discordant force comes when we get attached to a present. As the time is moving, we get attached to the present because we see that present as desirable. Why we see that present as a desirable one? Because whenever we enjoy something or we imagine something, so the moment that we are imagining something that we desire, we begin conceiving that moment where we desired something desirable as the desirable one. We become attached to that moment. until we realize the reality of that moment. Why we want to realize the reality of that moment, whatever we have imagined? Because we want to demonstrate to ourselves and to the world that we are capable of manifesting whatever we desire. That's the ego. The ego is that I believe that I can do anything. I am omnipotent. So that's the source of the ego. And that's why it's important that we don't get attached to a moment. We are focused on a futuristic approach or a goal-oriented approach, because desire is conceived in a moment which is present, and you get attached to that. But if your goal, that's future. Because goal is the future oriented, then you don't get attached to that goal. Once you realize the goal, you move to the next goal. So that's the difference between the ego and the self-sovereignty, governing yourself, your own well-being. So now the three common misconceptions about self-sovereignty. The first is that self-sovereignty is a trait of spiritual independence that makes one's mind free from the worldly affairs. So in other words, sannyasa is a necessary criteria distinguishing the practice of Swarajya or Swaprabhuta. So people say that if we take sannyas, we have spiritual independence and now we are free from worldly affairs. But in reality, Swarajya is about active participation in societal transformation rather than withdrawal from worldly affairs. It means making conscious decisions that guide one's contribution to the world. Meaningful contributions are the platform for everyone to make their own contributions. They open the space for one's withdrawal from continued engagement. Therefore, an illusion of sannyasa is produced. Okay, because when everyone is capable, you don't need to be engaged, you don't need to be interdependent with everyone. You can let them be independent. If everybody is independent, then there is no interdependence needed. Interdependence is needed only when you are helping them grow and realize their potential. So interdependence is needed when you are helping others who don't know how to make their contributions. You are opening the path for them to make contributions. You are opening the path for them to grow further. Okay, once you have opened the path for them to grow further, then necessarily interdependent on them. You can rule your own world and they can rule their own world, because both of you are equally capable. The second misconception is self-sovereignty is a trait one cultivates by embracing a state of material independence. In other words, vairagya is an essential condition integrated within the concept of Swarajya. In reality, Swarajya is about fullest enjoyment of the materials created with one's creativity. So whatever materials we have created, we have to fully enjoy it. So if you look at Shri Krishna, he never lived in poverty. He had his own nagari. He was fully enjoying all the material wealth that he had created. We are dependent on the materials that serve as nutrients for our mind and body. If we don't consume materials, then our mind and body is not going to get the nutrients they need to be fully active. Not exercising creativity or leaving the fruits of one's creativity for others to enjoy are two extremes that compromise the dignity of the gifts Mother Nature has given to us. Mother Nature expects us to be creative, to create the materials, to plant things, and once a plant grows fruits, to consume the fruits. But it also expects us that we should not leave those fruits for others, because others should be creating their own material well-being. If we make them dependent, the materials that we are producing, then they become dependent on us, then we compromise their capability to be independent. By living life to the fullest, we close the space for others to intrude into our life. Others intrude in our life, suppose we have created tree and we have not consumed all the fruits because we grew more trees than what we needed. Then what would happen? Others will begin intruding our life. First the birds, animals, the other children will come, then other people will come, because they will say that you have a lot of fruits which are going waste. If you created the fruits with the expectation that the birds and animals will come, then they are not intruding your life, they are part of your life. Others intrude your space in a way that you don't want, only because you are not living your life to the fullest. So consequently, we discontinue diversifying our responsibility. When we are minding our own business, we become Vairagi in everyone's imagination, because we renunciate all desires that others are compelled to service, seeking a space in our mind. Third misconception: self-sovereignty is a state that correlates with co-sovereignty of others. So that means that shared sovereignty. So unless others take responsibility for their choices, one is compelled to fill the gap if others are devoted to one. So in other words, bhakti of a bhakt limits the shakti of a shakt to be master of one's mood, destiny, divinity and eternity. That is to say that a bhakt has the power of hypnotizing, vashikaran, a shakt, so that shakt does whatever bhakt wishes. So that's the common misconception in India, that bhakti has more power and shakt has to surrender to the power of bhakt. In reality, Swarajya is about self-governance of the life one breathes. A bhakta cannot compel a shakt to make a decision a shakt did not intend to take. The reality of Swarajya means co-sovereignty, shared sovereignty, is realized only because shakt expects bhakt to take self-governing decisions and knows that bhakt will seek to include shakt in the team to execute the desired decisions. By taking those decisions as a substitute, the shakt is making bhakt realize that the latter has abdicated its self-sovereignty by assuming that only former, which is shakt, has the power to realize self-sovereignty. Bhakt means believer. So as a believer, I believe that only God has power to realize self-sovereignty. I don't have that power. I can't be free and I can make my own decisions because Krishna makes my decisions. So now Krishna did not dictate Arjuna's actions. Instead, he empowered Arjuna to choose his path based on his own understanding and convictions. He guided Arjuna to realize that he is sashakt in taking up the challenges because Krishna is always in his team. Even when Krishna is not taking any decision, is not bound by the emotions of bhakt. So when bhakt is ready to be recipient, Krishna is always there to illuminate the reality so that bhakt stops self-doubt, that the bhakt is sashakt. So karma marg illuminates jnana marg by liberating one from the kriya marg. What is kriya marg? Kriya marg is intended to tactically continue the effect of the primordial self that has been disrupted due to one's ignorance, causing abdication of one's primordiality. Jnana marg perpetuates bhakti marg. Bhakti marg is the path of devotion. The bhakti marg creates siddhi marg. Siddhi marg means path of divinity. By destroying bhakta marg, bhakta marg is that I am a believer, that you will do everything for me. Siddhi marg, the path of divinity, manifests siddha marg. What's the siddha marg? Path of a ancient entity, path of a siddha, who governs the self with sovereignty. Siddha is none other than Shiv. We develop Shiv Tattva in us once we realize that we are also have the same power as Krishna. People see Krishna is only one. Everybody is not Shri Krishna, copy of Shri Krishna, less than Shri Krishna. As a bhakt, you are not realizing that whatever exists is Shri Krishna. There is nothing other than Shri Krishna. Everything which exists in the universe is Shri Krishna. It's a diverse form of Shri Krishna. There is no other reality. Shri Krishna is the only reality. You are also Shri Krishna, I am also Shri Krishna, sun is also Shri Krishna, pen is also Shri Krishna, a notebook is also Shri Krishna, everything is Shri Krishna, but we don't have the power to understand and see the Shri Krishna element in that reality. We are bound by the illusion of a diverse form that Shri Krishna has taken. Once we realize that Param Bhakti is to realize the truth of Shri Krishna, to realize that there is nothing exists except Shri Krishna. So when we realize that everything is Shri Krishna, then we realize that we have the same primordiality, we have the same gifts that Shri Krishna has, because we are Shri Krishna. For developing that primordiality, we need to devote attention.
You have explained very nicely regarding the distinctions of the ego and the self-sovereignty. And I will like to, tell you, one of the story which you have told, very clearly into your explanation also, that we have to, Vairagya does not mean we have to renounce anything. We have to make sure that whatever it is there, it is for the utility purpose is there. And even that thing was explained by the Buddha in the various day. And when the person will not be able to understand, he will say that first you go to the Tulara. Okay? You don't come to me, because what I have the same thing quality that he has, but his expression is different. He is living into the world and still he can have these things, this quality of what it is that. So don't think that you have to renounce everything, because by renouncing you are not going to get anything.
Absolutely.
It is like some point of in time, it will be an egoistic, your ego will become and strengthening to that. But if you can lead into the world, Tularam was, a trader, Tularam was a businessman, just, paying and giving to the people, but how he was, how he used, just watch him. He was telling, just watch him. And if you will be able to watch him, you can see the same quality is there within me also. Okay, and that same quality is within you. Once you will be able to see that, you don't have to renounce anything, you have to participate into that. Ego is given to you as a tool part of it, just to live into the survival life.
Absolutely.
And with this, you have explained and addressed only the 4 questions right now. Okay, but I think so we need your, these sessions more to understand the self-sovereignty and how to establish within ourselves the self-sovereignty. You have to give us a few more sections of this on the self-sovereignty also.
Sure, it will be my pleasure. We can carry on this conversation in about 3 weeks, maybe early May.
Yeah, I'm really thankful to you for being engaged on this podcast series.